A warning to all about to listen to this podcast. The following audio may contain spoilers, content unsuitable for younger viewers and immature man-children, unnecessary profanity, and definite bad opinions. Now that you know what to expect, let's get on with the show.
Alright then, hello ladies and gentlemen and welcome to the Anime Abroad podcast. My name is David Jones and today I am joined by Tom.
Hiya.
I am joined by Cassie.
Hello.
I am joined by Jonas.
Hello.
And our special guest today is Holden. Holden, how you doing,
You
man?
make me sound a lot more important than I really am, but I appreciate it.
Alright then, so our question of the week this week is, which one are we going with, Tom? You decide.
I don't know, there's so many choices.
I don't know, dude. Which anime-related question are we going to pick? Is it the biggest anime you can shave, or which one we want as a pet?
We never said that these questions needed to be anime-related,
I'm going
right?
to go update the doc after this podcast. I'm going to go look up a bunch of animal-related questions, but replace animal with anime in every single one.
Sure. It would work.
Apparently that's how we get our questions of the week.
So, Tom, you can decide what question we pick. You can also fill the audience in about my utter stupidity.
David has we have a Google Doc where we, make notes and do planning, and David's put a section for questions of the week, because every single goddamn week we get into the recording, and then we spend 20 minutes wasting time deciding what the fucking question of the week's going to be. So anyway, that aside, David's picked a bunch of animal-related questions, and in all of them... misspell animal as anime, and I genuinely I think you're just fucked, David. Like,
I know.
At this point, it's just too much alcohol. Too much.
And for once, I'm not even drunk, so
I know that's what I mean. You fucked up, dude. Like your body is dying, your brain is decaying as we speak.
Oh, it's been like that for a very long time. Trust me.
Alright, okay, so biggest animal we can shave with a razor. Fuck it, we need to get this thing started, don't we?
Alright, okay, so the question is, what is the biggest animal you think that you could shave with a Bic razor? Personally, I'm probably gonna say a dog. I think I could handle a dog. I think I could shave a dog with a
Depends
Bic
what type
razor.
of dog though, doesn't it? Like,
I was thinking that,
dog.
I don't know. I don't know. Okay, maybe a dog the size of I like Rottweilers, so I'll say a Rottweiler. I think I could shave a Rottweiler.
I would love to watch you shave an angry Rottweiler.
This is the stupidest fucking question we've had yet.
It really is one of the worst questions.
Easily.
I've just had my head in my hands for the last 2 minutes.
My face was in my hands.
Welcome our very special guest. Now, what animal do you think you could shave with a razor?
My answer to this is a sea lion. Sea lions have really short hair, and I think it'd be really fun to shave them because it's manageable.
Yeah. That's a good answer.
And since they really like water, so it'd be really easy to get them wet and keep them hydrated so that you have lubrication when you're shaving them with the Bic razor.
Yeah.
I mean, that's true. I didn't actually specify if you could use shaving cream or not.
Yeah.
But considering I said a Bic razor, I'm gonna say no. So you don't get any shaving cream with this. It's just a Bic razor and whatever.
It's water.
Yeah. Water, yeah. That's about it.
I would...
but...
Oh, go on.
I was going to say, how are you going to keep the sea lion, straight? I mean, because I could hold a Rottweiler, I could keep that straight and, shave it, but, I can imagine the sea lion's going to be very awkward to try and keep a hold of while you're shaving it.
Sea lions are really streamlined. They're very smooth, so it's very easy to shave them out of swim because you kind of just make passes like mowing a lawn, and it's just... so it's not that difficult. I just think that the challenge would be worth it. Because shaving sea lions is something I don't think people have ever done.
Yeah.
I don't think so either. It would be a world first. Cassie, I'm assuming you're going to go something a little bit higher than what we've said so far. I'm thinking you probably say bear, right?
Oh, let me add it. That sounds
what about
great,
moose,
actually.
A moose.
Bears are women. I fucking love bears.
Tom, what would you pick?
I'd go for a dolphin. I think that would be a really quick job.
Yeah, you'd almost have to do nothing at all.
Yeah, and even if like it did have hair, I could just distract it with my human body. You know what dolphins like to do to those, don't we? So
Dolphins are fucking psychopaths.
I've heard about that.
So while the dolphin's having some good times, I can just like try and get those hard to reach spots. And at the end of the day, we both benefit, so...
God damn it.
Oh, God.
And Jonas, what's the biggest animal you think you could shave with a Bic razor?
I've been on this podcast for 3 weeks and this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Oh, get used to it.
Oh, God.
I'd probably stick with David and go for a dog or something, like a smaller dog. I'm not very
It's a
good.
safe bet.
Yeah, I'm not very good at keeping things in place.
It's a safe bet. They're small enough. You don't think they'll wriggle too much. And, if you don't pick something that isn't vicious, like a Rottweiler, for example, then I guess it's an easy enough job.
Probably.
All right, then. So let's talk about what we've been up to. And Tom, I believe you've got quite an interesting story to tell the group.
I do. I actually messaged David on Skype and just said, "Hey, this is like the summary. Is this too much? Can I tell this story?" So,
and I said, absolutely not. It's fine.
Yeah. So I was in class. I was helping out, going around, and the kids are like working. They're busy working, and I just noticed that I've got this fat, disgusting spot on the bottom of my chin, and I don't usually get spots there, so it was quite fascinating. And I'm just like playing with this thing, and luckily, because it's on the bottom of my chin, I can play with it and look like I'm like pensively stroking my beard or something. Anyway, I get a good grip, and I fucking explode this motherfucker.
Oh my God.
And I did not realise just how fucking juicy this thing was.
Oh my God. And how did this end, Tom?
This is podcast become? This isn't what I signed up for.
And there's this moment of panic, like, oh God, did I just like spray some kid's work with like my innards? And no, it was on my hand, but that was I thought I was done. I thought like, okay, I'm gonna get fired. This kid's like, it's gonna go in this kid's mouth, and he's gonna get like septicemia or something, and I'm gonna get put in jail, and that's it. Everything's over. But no, it was in my hand, and I breathed a sigh of relief and casually walked over towards the sink and just brushed it away. But yeah, that was my story from today.
Wow, well done, Tom.
So starting things off on a high note.
Well, I haven't really been up to that much. I've still been looking for work and stuff like that, and the person that I see at the Dole recommended to me, they were looking through my records and they were like, you had an idea to start your own business off, right? And I was like, yeah, like a year ago, maybe. What's this got to do with anything? And I was like, I think you should go and see somebody about starting this business up again. And I was like, nah, it's probably not a good idea. I'm probably not the best person. But I went along with it anyway, so I went and done it. And then I spent about 20 minutes debating Civilization V with this dude. Like, we were debating, like, what's better, the Longbowman or the Chukanu for the Chinese? And that went on for a good 5 minutes. I was like, but dude, the +1 range, that you can upgrade them to Gatling guns, and then Gatling guns aren't fucking useless in the endgame. So, yeah, that was literally the highlight of my past week. I talked to a dude about Civilization V in the Dole.
That's 7 days, David. Like, that's the highlight
7
of
days.
7 days. Okay, just checking.
I got very drunk on the weekend and played some board games. I mean, that was fun. It always is, but
that's
nothing
not
too hysterical
Yeah,
happened.
that's not new.
So, Jonas, what have you been up to then, man? What's happened?
I don't know. I left uni, actually. I've dropped out of uni because it's not fun. And I've decided to actually go to Japan for a year, which is pretty cool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, probably going to be like around like later this year. Like, I don't know,
So
August.
how are you arranging that? Like, how are you arranging that? Are you going to study or just to chill?
It's work and travel. I'm going to do work and travel for about a year there.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not too much planned out yet. But I've not signed up just yet, but I'm probably going to do that very soon. It's relatively sure that I'm going, at least. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
I guess that's a kind of a good jumping off point for one of the questions you wanted to ask, Tom.
Yeah, we'll get to that. We'll go on the table first.
So yeah, because I think Tom, you have a really good name. I just want to point that out. Specifically your last name. Your first name's fucking irrelevant. I really don't give a shit about it. But your last one, I would take that one and name my son it.
I live in the land of Holden. I'm not even kidding. The village I live in, I would say about 50% of the population are named Holden. There's a village.
Jesus Christ.
There's a village down the road called Holden. Like there's a place. There's a place within driving distance called Holden. And
Tom, we can explain that. You're from Burnley. Everybody's fucking inbred there.
I'm not from Burnley.
Wow.
I'm like 25. No, that's common knowledge. He isn't wrong. Burnley's like 25 minutes away from me, like Preston and Blackburn. But yeah, this little village called Holden has a chapel called Holden Chapel.
Nice.
So I just thought you'd like to know that.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'll take it. Yeah.
I guess that Holden, what have you been up to in the past week then, man?
So what I'm doing recently is I'm finishing the work that I started about 9 months ago. So hopefully we'll have a video out soon. And then aside from that, I've just been like reading a lot of manga and stuff and finishing my final semester of university. And so I should be graduating in May. So in the next 2 months, I'll graduate.
Oh,
What are you graduating
Awesome.
with?
Congratulations.
So all my degree is in animation with a so it's a film degree. It's a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree in film, concentration in animation, and with a minor in game design or linguistics. I'll choose because I have the option for both because I've done enough credits for either. Mainly because I went to Japan and that was a lot of the linguistics requirements filled out at that point. Because I did language learning.
Do you know what you want to do with a degree yet? Or
I want to animate. My goal's always been to be an animator, and my goal's always to be among the best. And so, the reason I got the degree was to prove my resolve towards what I'm doing, and it's just a means of getting to an end. Degrees aren't necessary if you want to become an animator. That's very important to know. If anyone wants to become an animator, you don't have to do it. A lot of very renowned animators start at age 17 just out of high school and they don't even go to college for it. Because animation isn't something that a degree is required. It's all about skill, talent, dedication.
I wish more things were like that.
A degree just merely means that you're able to commit time to what you're doing. That's all it means in my field, at least. Which is a very, different. It's just the arts. It's not any kind of essential academia. So it's very different for if I was trying to get a degree in, management or business. It'd be a degree's very necessary, I would assume, at that point or at that level.
yeah. Weirdly enough, that's exactly what I've dropped out of. So
Nice. And so you want to work in Japan? Is what you're looking to do for a year?
it's just going to be mini jobs for the most part, or just living. I'm probably going to be living in Tokyo for about a year in a dorm, and
Sure.
I'll be looking around for mini jobs and working with those, and hopefully going to be able to travel around with the money I get from those.
Yeah.
So,
So my biggest thing, this isn't just to you, it's just to anyone who's interested in going to Japan. It's always important to, of course, know the limits to your travel. Visas are, of course, a very important part of the Japanese constitution and immigration reform. So just make sure that you have the proper paperwork that allows you to stay there. Mainly because if you mess up, the biggest problem is that they'll probably never let you back in for the rest of your life. It's very common for Japanese, if you break the regulation laws, they don't usually try to reform them. They're very much a one strike kind of deal. For instance, an interesting law from Japan is that if you're caught with a joint in Japan, you serve a prison sentence. And then on top of that prison sentence, upon serving it in Japan, because they try you and prosecute you in their country, you are then, once it is over, you are then exiled from Japan and never allowed to re-enter for the rest of your life.
Holy shit.
Jesus Christ.
And that is
that's pretty fucking harsh.
yeah, that is that is the current law for Japanese narcotics with
So
foreign.
how long would you be looking at in terms of a jail sentence if you got caught smoking a joint?
I think there was a really good documentary. I think it's called From the Inside. It's these French. I don't know exactly what the name is, but it's these two Frenchmen were coming from, I believe, Berlin to Japan, and they got caught with like a kilo of narcotics, and then they're serving Japanese jail time for, I believe it was 10 years.
Ooh, Jesus.
And then upon serving their sentence, they are then deported and exiled from Japan.
What's Japanese prison like? Japan strikes
It's
me as the
not
type of country that...
it's not that impressive. It's super, it's super concise and regimented, of course, because it very much reflects the values that the country as a whole bears on a, larger scale. But, it's really weird because it's like, it seems like those like really, it's so calm and orderly that it's so, I don't know, it's so contrasty because I'm being an American, right? It's like, we kind of view jail as like the one form of legal anarchy. And so it's always interesting seeing documentaries about Japanese prisons just being these like places where everyone's in single file lines, not saying anything.
Oh, right.
Man, that sounds fucking rough.
Yeah.
Can you think of a single instance of an anime that referenced weed? Because now that I'm thinking about it,
there's one.
You get drug references.
The one is Car no Kyokai Movie 7, which is Murder Study Part 2. The main antagonist runs a weed plantation because with the narcotics, he runs a spoiler of what it is, what he's trying to do, because it's not just weed. Because the movie also has LSD and other narcotics that he also sells. The LSD is the more notable one because it's the one that has the blood in the LSD, which is a whole subplot line.
Yeah, I never thought about that before. That's actually a huge difference.
Drugs come up so rarely in anime, actually.
Yeah, and when you think of American culture and shit, it comes up all the time in our media.
Yeah.
It's usually only referenced... Well, actually, it was really weird, is that there's this one Figma that was just released for TED, because they really like TED in Japan. And the TED Figma actually has a bong. And that was really funny.
They like TED in Japan?
Are you talking about that really shitty movie?
They love TED in Japan.
What the
What?
They love TED.
Why?
When I lived in Japan, TED was
terrible.
everywhere, dude.
TED is a guilty pleasure of mine. I quite like those movies.
I don't know why.
I got nothing to say about that one. Holy shit.
For instance, they have these machines, these crane games is what they are. And it was really common to see crane games devoted to just units devoted to just TED merchandise.
Wow.
That's amazing.
I don't know. I think it's just I guess it's just because whenever I asked my friend, he said that TED in Japan is this symbol of rebellion and stuff, and so that's why they like it. It's
I can see that. Yeah, I can see that.
But I was and then I just said to him, do you guys not care that it's really shitty? Does quality play no factor in this?
Well, it might be just quality gets lost along translation lines, I think. The things anime that does really well over here or critically well received can bomb in Japan. Death Parade. Yeah, that still breaks my heart.
Still waiting for Dead Man Wonderland season 2 as well.
So maybe our trash media is really critically acclaimed in Japan.
God.
I mean, the thing is though, TED is the most American thing out there, isn't it?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen it, but
what would where Mark Wahlberg's character is just listing off all of those trailer trash names? What would that mean to a Japanese person?
I mean, I don't know. It'd probably just be
I wonder if they translate it into trashy Japanese names.
I'm sure that it would have been weird to watch in theaters because usually in Japan, if it's a foreign movie. There's the option of the subtitled version or the Japanese dub version. That's really common. For instance, Star Wars The Force Awakens, I lived there whenever that was released. And it had that option as well. And whereas if it's a domestic release, of course, there's going to be no subtitle versions provided at all. But I think it'd be really interesting to see what they
I'm actually curious, how did Star Wars do in Japan?
I think it did really well as far as I know. It?
People liked it.
Yeah.
I mean, the Japanese seem like these people, whenever I lived there, they just they just really consume media and art at a really alarming rate to the point where they can't produce enough. I think that what's really interesting is the Japanese live action film industry is they produce so many films a year. It's an insane number. It rivals even the US film industry. And the US film industry is way more profitable and whatnot. And so it's really interesting, seeing how much they're willing to just indulge in media. Because, I mean, media is really, a really big part of Japan. And on top of that, they're so, archaic with their design that everything's consumed in a very straightforward, old-fashioned manner. For instance, print media is still the leading, distributor of news and media in general is print media. So magazines, all of those weekly editions, newspapers, all of them are they sell much higher in Japan than their digital counterparts, which I think is like really amazing, because whenever you think of Japan, you think of technological advancements, you think of the ability to integrate technology. And here's a culture that is, refuting and like denying all of that innovation and just accepting for things for like how they were and not how they are. And I think that's always like really shocking to anyone who goes to Japan. That's like one of the first things they'll always notice is just how much print and physical media there is.
I'm actually really looking forward to that then, because I've always kind of enjoyed physical media more anyway, personally.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, for instance, it's not uncommon that people will just... It's like if you go to a convenience store, it's really common that you see a group, like a line of people in front of the magazine section perusing the issues of the newest magazines in there and then just putting it back. That's like super common.
Reading the articles in FHM.
Yeah, and then for instance, it's just going to somewhere like a book off, which is a books, like it's a kind of like a secondhand store where you can sell like all your like it's kind of like HMV, very similar. It's the idea that like you can resell things and get like store credit and whatnot. And so it's really common that you see like just tons of people in the manga aisles reading it as if it's a library, because unlike the bookstores, which are like selling new manga and stuff, they are shrink wrapped because they want you to buy it. And the other reason is that most new volumes of manga, the tankobons contain like some kind of thing. Like, just some kind of like...
Oh, like CDs
card.
and shit?
Yeah, like card or whatever. Right?
Yeah, I hear about CDs getting paired with manga all the time.
And so it's not uncommon that happens, so they have to shrink wrap it. Whereas in the used manga, like, store and like book off and stuff, they're not shrink wrapped because they've been used already. All of the contents, all of the extras have been already like procured, so there's no need to shrink wrap them, and since they're used, it doesn't matter. So people read it as if it's just a standing library, basically. And so it's really common that you see aisles and aisles of people just all reading manga, which was something, probably one of the more jarring things for me to just kind of digest, was how much manga gets consumed in Japan.
I mean, just the idea of like people just like standing in a bookshop using it as a library, like you'd get... I remember going to Borders a lot when I was a kid, which is the UK bookstore, rest in peace.
It's an American bookstore too.
Best place
it was
to get
like,
Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
They bought my books a million later on.
Yeah. Anyway, like you'd get like told off by the staff if you were like
just
stood
what I
there
always
reading
thought.
stuff. Yeah.
That doesn't happen in Japan.
Yeah.
The only time that I was told to do anything in the store was, I think it was whenever I brought my umbrella too far into the restaurant, and I should have put it at the umbrella rack, which I didn't see at first, which everyone uses, which is like really foreign to me. Like the idea of the umbrella rack, like everyone puts their umbrella here with like no tags or anything. And as Samurai Flamenco points out, the most common crime in Japan is stealing others' umbrellas, which I've definitely done before, as well as I've taken umbrellas where if a train's going out of commission, everyone has to get off the train, of course. And so whenever it gets off the train, anything that's left on the train, I read as I can take it. And so I would just take all this shit that people leave on the train, such as large umbrellas and bags and whatnot. Just umbrellas, and I returned bags. I think the weirdest thing I've ever found was a phone, which I had returned to the staff there, which always engages like, I don't know, you see this white, like, 6'3" dude walk into you with a phone, and then it's just like, I'm like trying to like gesture that I'm handing him the phone, and I haven't said anything yet, because I could speak like pretty good Japanese at this point, and he would just, like, people would just tense up, and they'd be like, oh, fuck. Like,
Actually, question, how long did it take you to learn as much Japanese as you did before you went?
So, before I went, I studied passively for like 3 years, and when I say studied passively, I mean like really passively.
Watch anime.
No, I mean like all I would do.
I'm
like
studying Japanese.
Watch
like,
anime
really
would work,
passively.
right? It would work, because when I say passively study Japanese, I mean that I would know very limited vocab, but more importantly, the thing that I would do the most is I would find things to read in Japanese, and that was like the major thing, was being very aware and sentient of like what every hiragana and what every katakana each mean, and not really knowing like any kanji other than like my name, which is So my name in Japanese, right, would be like, you'd phonetically translate it to Horuden, right? Because they don't have L's, so the L in my name would become a RU, because it'd be Ru instead of L, right? Yeah. And so I changed my name whenever I went to Japan to Haruden. Haru is a kisetsu, which means season. It's a season, right? So Haru means spring, right? It means spring, which is when I was born. I was born in April. And Den, D-E-N, which is the same as my English name, which is Holden, D-E-N. Den is short for Densetsu, which is a legend. So like, Densetsu is like the idea of like someone becoming a legend or something, or just like the folk tale. So my name in Japanese is
cool.
The Legend of the Spring.
That is a really fucking cool name.
Because my name is Haruden.
That is pretty cool.
And see, like the Japanese people, because like they read it and it sounds weird, right? It's as if someone was named like Spring Legend in English, right? It'd be kind of weird, right? But
Yeah.
no, but like, but they think it's super cool because like it is really unique and it's a really easy way of remembering me. And that's like the cool thing about it, right? Is like it's not. It's like an easy way of remembering it. And also it's short for, if I want to go short, you can say Haruden, or Haru is what they say for short if they wanted to. Most people just say Holden. A lot of them, once I phonetically say it once, they usually get it and they usually are very insistent on calling me like, by my proper name. Before I went to Japan, I was very, I was like completely, like I was very prepared to be like, okay, I'm gonna have to just conform, and this is what this is where I'm gonna meet everyone. Like, this is where I'm gonna meet them in the middle. So I'm gonna change my name to like more, integrate myself, I guess, or just like appropriate. And no, they're very. It's really amazing how embraced and how open they are with Western culture and how much they desire to know more about it. And
I mean, are you sure though, dude?
I've heard mixed things about that.
Well, I think part of it, right, is that honestly, I'm handsome. The other part of it, the other part of it is that I knew a fair amount, like a really fair, like decent amount, like conversational Japanese. And so
that helps wherever you go.
And so it's different because like if you know Japanese and like, for instance, like you're a white person, right? Or just whatever, right? If you're not Japanese, so be it black, whatever. If you know, like, any Japanese, they're very humbled and appreciative of even that attempt, right? Because the Japanese are very aware that their language, in their sense, because, they're very economic people, they think learning Japanese is useless, right? Because they think that learning Japanese is stupid because it's only used in, like, 2 places on Earth, which is Brazil and Japan. And so there's no point. Yeah, Brazil actually has a very high concentration of Japanese people.
Why?
The reason why
that's strange.
there was a lot of immigrants during the 1800s that went to Brazil because Brazil had a very high concentration of spices and sugars and everything, which would want to be brought back to Japan because Japan, of course, likes sweets a lot, and so it was very common for the settlers because the first people that came to Japan were the Dutch, I believe, and they would trade with the Japanese people, and eventually the Japanese people wanted to go other places, and so they went with some of the people that came, not necessarily the Dutch, but they went with them to Brazil for, coffee, all of the very exotic foods that come from Brazil. Because a very important thing to remember about Japan is Japan's a tropical climate where not everything can grow, and especially the fact that it's not like. So, for being an American is very different because whenever we go to a food market or a food store, we can expect any kind of fruit or anything that we can imagine year-round, but easily. In Japan, everything is very seasonal. Everything just comes with the seasons and leaves with them. And so it's not uncommon that you can't have, like, oranges during the winter and stuff because it's not in season. And so there's a lot of foods in Japan. Oranges isn't the best example. There's a lot of foods like various meats and fruits and vegetables that have to be in season in order for them to be sold in Japan. Whereas in America, we're very spoiled. We have a very diverse climate range. So anything is fair game any time of the day. And so it's really different. And so that ultimately the Japanese would travel and there's a lot of people in Brazil. And oddly enough, my teacher, whose name is Caleb. He's an Australian. He met his wife in Brazil, and his wife was Japanese. And then ultimately, so she's a Brazilian-Japanese woman, and that he ended up moving to Japan with her, back to meet with her, live with her family and everything. But their children are Brazilian, Australian, Japanese children. And it's really interesting because I didn't know that Brazil had the second highest concentration. Well, not the second, but one of the highest concentrations of Japanese in the world, and one of the highest Japanese speaking regions in the world for sure. I think
I've never heard that before. That's completely new to me.
Yeah, it's really weird. It's because it's like on the other side of the planet. Like you would understand why. And so I didn't get it at first. But it kind of makes sense. I mean, there's a lot of words that are called gairaigo. Gai means foreign. So gaijin, right, is foreign person, right? That's where the word comes from, right? Gaijin, right? There it is, right? Gai kokugo is foreign language, right? There's a word that says, so gairaigo is foreign loan word. So for instance, computer is a foreign loan word. It means computer in Japanese, but it's written on katakana because it's a foreign loan word. That means computer. A better example though is alubaito, which is a word for part-time job, which is German for part-time job.
Yeah, it is.
And so,
wow,
it's really interesting.
That's why you laughed.
And so, for instance, bread is pan, P-A-N, which is Spanish for bread. And so, it's very common.
French as well, actually.
Yeah. You'll run into a lot of gairaigo when you learn Japanese, especially proper nouns and names of things, because there's just so many. There was so many parts that culturally, brought Japan to where it is, and so it's really interesting learning the language and kind of figuring out what those are, because you would a lot of them you kind of don't expect, because for instance, the word phone is denwa, which is Japanese, right? But the word for smartphone is sma, SM, SA, SMA, sma, and then PO, it's smapo. It means smartphone, basically, right? And that's because it's trying to sound like smartphone, phonetically.
That's adorable.
And so, it's like cupcake. It's like cup of cakey. And it's it's really
yeah, I hear things like that all the time where it's that sounds pretty close to English.
Yeah, and so that's
I know the word keki from K-On!
It's actually really fun to figure out sometimes. Some of these are really, really funny. I think my favorite example is always McDonald's.
Yeah,
which is Japanese for McDonald's.
Dude, have you guys seen the newest Japanese McDonald's that aired 2 days ago?
Oh, I saw that.
It's incredible.
Oh yeah, that was fantastic.
It is amazing. I feel like it really captured the essence of what Japanese McDonald's is, which is they're really serious there. as is with everything they do. They were overly serious. And
that's so different from Western McDonald's.
Oh,
where
yeah,
if you fuck
totally,
everything up, if you literally make every wrong decision in your life, you end up at McDonald's.
I think
that's Western McDonald's.
My favorite thing about Japanese McDonald's, right, was aside from so first off, it tastes the exact same as American, so it's super consistent globally, which is I guess impressive. But the thing that interests me the most is whenever you ordered something, right, and if you wanted to augment the order, so change it, right. So for instance, ketchup only cheeseburger, right? So you could say ketchup with dake or ketchup with nomi, only this, right?
Wait, do you mean ketchup between two buns?
No. So it's just a cheeseburger with no condiments,
right.
just ketchup.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So, but if you did that, right? If you said that, they would assume very similar to what you said. They would be because then they would go through the list of things you don't want. So they'd be pickles, yeah, They were so confused by you augmenting the order, and they would just be holy shit, this dude's just trying to cause anarchy. Who is this man?
One by one.
No, they would go by the condiments one by one and be are you sure you don't want pickles? This is your last chance to get pickles on the burger.
It's like SpongeBob, though. They gotta make sure.
Are you positive?
You could be hiding the pickles.
This is a serious choice. I think there was only one time where the person didn't ask for just explicit didn't make me sign a waiver basically about how certain I was about augmenting my order.
Did they not have the touchscreens for ordering?
What are you talking about?
Okay, so David, have you been Have you been to a
Yeah,
McDonald's?
I've seen them before.
Yeah, so in the UK, I've been to 2 McDonald's now that have had these. Like there's like kiosks in the McDonald's, like double-sided touchscreens, and you go up to them and you literally just order your food on the touchscreen, and then you get a number like Argos, and you just sit and you wait. Yeah, it's fucking amazing because you don't have to deal with the degenerate like human like failure that's behind the counter.
I mean, the thing is, right? So like we have something. I haven't been to a McDonald's that has that, but I've been to a place that has that, and it's pretty sick. Like, because for the place that I had, it was a sit-down place where you'd sit down and eat. So you'd pick up like one of those pagers too, right, off the stack, and then they'd come to your table based on like the pager's location, I guess.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and so it's like...
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Where the waiter would give you a page and be like, when this beeps, come back in and we'll give you a table. Basically, you'd take that on your own, like, you'd input the number on the pager into into the touchscreen, and then you'd sit down with it, and then they'd bring the food to you.
That's actually getting implemented in certain McDonald's in the UK now, because my friend Brian works at McDonald's, and he thinks this system is like the end of time as we know it. He's like, What's wrong with just ordering your meal at the counter? What's wrong with that? All this bloody technology ruining my burgers. It's really funny because his accent's somewhere between Scouse and Brummy, so whenever he goes on a rant like that, it's fucking great.
Don't let him listen to this podcast. I'm striking all of the shit I said about McDonald's employees off the record.
He doesn't give a shit about cartoons.
Nice. So the McDonald's like touchscreens are cool, but they ain't got shit on the little conveyor belt which carries your food to you. That still blows my mind.
Fuck, dude, technology's gone too far. I'm done. I'm glad I'm not gonna live to be too old.
There was a sushi restaurant in Monkey Island 4, and I thought they'd made that shit up. Like, I could not believe that such a nirvana existed. Like, a conveyor belt. Like a little fucking racetrack that goes around the entire fucking restaurant and carries your food to you.
Surely we are hundreds of years away from this technology.
And I'm just like, how do you know which food's yours? How do you know which food's yours? So, like, do you order it and then you have to wait? And if you miss it, you have to like wait for it to come round again, like a baggage at an airport.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
That sounds pretty fun. What a dream.
I know. So like, McDonald's like, your touchscreens are cool, but conveyor belts though. You should get your Big Mac on a conveyor belt. And you have to fight like the beast guy next to you for it.
Christ, my friend Brian would have a fucking aneurysm if he heard about that. Conveyor belts in my McDonald's, I'm not having it. Oh god.
So I have a question about Japan. Japan has a fairly common, and I'd say pretty widely acknowledged, like reputation for being quite xenophobic. What's your experience with that? Would you say that's fair? Or?
I mean, so they probably aren't towards me directly, right? I was never a victim on the receiving end of racism or of any kind, but I was told like why that is, right? By my Japanese friends. And so the idea is the reason that people are against, for instance, immigration, which Prime Minister Abe is pushing right now, especially with the Syrian refugees. He's looking to take on some of the refugees into Japan because they previously turned away, but because the whole cabinet's not allowing it. But the reason for all this is because Japan wants to maintain a homogenous work ethic. Not even just work ethic, but just culture. So they believe that allowing foreigners in, they're diluting their own culture in the process. So that people, right now in the current state of Japan, it's super common to see a 4-year-old taking the train to school by themselves, because everyone's under the preconceived notion that everyone is out to look out for one another. And that's common. Everyone actually believes that. And that's for the most part, that's actually how it is.
You would get your kid taken away from you here if you did that. Yeah,
and then, but that's...
I don't know.
That's only bullshit.
I don't know. Some, like, UK villages, that's kind of the same. Like, you see kids on the bus all the time in the countryside, and... Because everyone knows everybody, and communities are really tight. And, like, if anyone, like, tries fucking with a kid, they'll get lynched. They'll get absolutely fucking lynched. So I don't know, maybe not in like major cities in the UK. Like David, you live in London. Like we have different perspectives.
He lives in
not London. What the fuck? I know. As it left my mouth, I'm just like, why?
That sounds like me every day.
Liverpool, you live in the city.
Yeah, I mean, it was different for my parents' generation. Like, they were more than happy to, like, leave me in the house on my own while they went to the pub, and they'd let me go to town on my own, but only once I got past a certain age. But, yeah, when I was, like, eight or nine, I would get left in the house on my own. It's like, yeah, you watch cartoons all fucking night while we go and get drunk. And I'm like, cool, no problem. But it seems like the more recent generation, like the fucking parents seem to want to be with them all the goddamn time. And they don't let them have their own freedoms and stuff like that.
Helicopter
I mean, for us, it's once you're out of elementary school, you basically have you have to go to school yourself. I live in a village that doesn't have a middle school, so you'll have to go by bus. So
that's like some Spartan shit, dude. Germany keeping it fucking wild. It's like once you reach 8, you're just kicked out of the house. And you have to fend for yourself. You have to learn to hunt and kill. And you have to survive 3 winters before you can return to your house.
I mean, don't
come home before you've killed a wolf.
I mean, that's basically what school boils down to here. So.
So yeah, Holden.
Sorry, Holden. You were saying before we went off on this tangent.
So like, it's that kind of homogenous viewpoint that makes people wary about foreigners because they don't want to lose that. They don't want to lose this homogenous idea, which, like this homogenism, to use a different word, is kind of like this unification. The way that everyone's fighting for the same thing. Everyone's out to look out for each other. And that would be lost if we brought in people who aren't from this culture, who weren't raised with these ethics. And so that's why they are usually labeled as xenophobic. And that's like the big reason why is because, they're very much like, we don't want to change this because we really like how it currently works. And I think that's like the big difference. But I mean, Japan's declining birth rate and everything. It's not going to work like that because, I mean, so like the reason it's all happening, right, is because birth rate's really low. And so to maintain the economy they currently have, because Japan, you must also realize, has the record for the highest, longest living people per capita, which is 88 for some people, which is insane, making it the oldest, like, life expectancy in the world. And so with less people, all those old people retire and they expect, all of this money from these kids, and there's not enough kids to support the old people. And so that's what makes these old people, the young people, so stressed and so scared and so like resolute about their careers at such a young age is because of that lower birth rate means that there's much more weight put on them. And that's what...
Holy shit. And that obviously makes them like busy not fucking.
And that's... So it's there's a lot of reasons that go into that kind of work, like that whole idea. There's a really good documentary on it called, it's by the BBC. And actually, I think it is, yeah. It's one of the segments, the episode's called No Sex, Please, or Japanese, and it's about the plummeting birth rate of Japan and the various aspects as to potentially why that is. But the reason that's important, the only reason I bring up the birth rate is because of that problem, they have to bring in foreigners. Like, foreign work is no longer an option for the Japanese. It's the solution. It's the only thing that they can do because they have this multi-million-dollar economy that's going to have all the people retiring from the positions and no one to fill them. And so that's why Japan's looking for a much more like international market, which is why in the future, the younger generation of the Japanese people are very open. I've never met a young person. I've met older people who are like, more wary of me and foreigners in general. But the youth of Japan are so open because they were raised with the internet. They've got this very strong sense of like global perspective and how different, like the different pieces of the world all come together. And so it's very different than, the generation that was literally just like reigned with hellfire through like all these decades of war, be it from the like Chinese-Japanese war or the Japanese-Russo war whenever Japan was being invaded by Russia or ultimately World War II. It was very, very different political climate. And so the view of the world then was a lot different than the view of the world that's being taught now. And I think that's like a really big factor as far as why I think the Japanese will be a much more open to like just communication with, the rest of the world. And that's why I think xenophobic, I haven't encountered it because I was around a lot of people my age. And so it's, I don't think that it's as prevalent as, for instance, your grandparents, right? I think I always point to the idea of like, I think that your grandparents are always like have the most politically incorrect opinion usually of out of your whole
Absolutely,
family.
they do.
And that's how that's just how
Actually,
it
no, that
usually
might be
works.
my dad, but my grandparents can be pretty bad too.
Corey knows all about that, don't they?
And so it's really different for our generation, interacting with them because, our generation across the world usually has a very different mindset than our parents and our
More
grandparents.
open. Like last week, I went out with my grandparents, and my grandmother asked me out of the blue if I have any gay friends, and I was
Nice.
like, yeah. And she says, "Wow, not many people would admit that." And I was sitting there like,
Not many,
Wow.
not many people would admit that.
not many people would admit to that.
I think I heard my nan come out with a great one last week when she was saying, so what's all that trouble going over on in, what's that place called? Assyria? And I was like, what, that place from the fucking Bible? She just always comes out with blinders like that. Always makes me laugh.
I remember I asked my grandparents what Menchie's meant, because it's the name of a ice cream store. It means your love in, I believe in Hebrew. But their answer was, it means, what language is this even, right? And their answer was, I think it's Jew. And I thought that was the best answer they could have given.
Wow.
Was Jew.
That's actually just kind of funny. I couldn't even be upset about that. Oh, man.
That's good. Okay, so let's talk.
Actually, I just want to ask Holden a quick question before we carry on. Because I'm not sure if this is a rumor or it's actually a true statistic. Is it true that they actually sell more adult diapers in Japan than children's diapers?
Yeah, it's,
wow.
Okay. It's usually by about, I think.
Oh, because of the elderly.
The elderly outnumber the youth by 2 to 1 almost.
Right. Oh, right. Okay,
wow, that's
right. I was
actually
thinking.
crazy.
I was thinking like a different type of
insane.
application for adult diapers.
No, it's
What, you
because I mean
shit in a diaper so you can work harder?
they mentioned that statistic in the documentary. Because it's really weird that because Japan's basically one of the only first world countries in the world that has a reverse population problem. Like, it's so weird. It's so different that they're having it. Because the rest of the world,
Germany
we have the opposite. We're like, dude, we have too many people. Our birth rate's too high.
Yeah, but Germany's got shit crazy immigration. Right?
Yes, it does. Germany's the most.
We have a shit ton of immigrants right now.
Yeah, because they're the most open place to Syria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, no one else in the fucking EU wants to take them.
No one else in the EU, whereas Germany's has.
Sorry about that.
Germany's because actually Germany right now is the number one most requested place for refugees to travel and immigrate to.
Yeah.
Is Germany.
I mean, I'm pretty sure we have the most relaxed laws for immigrants after all. So it's kind of like this. I think a few people say this again and again, but it's kind of I think it still has to do with World War II and what happened there. Where we're not if we ever go somewhat harsh on immigrants, it's always going to be the argument of fucking Nazis and everything. That's always how it seems.
I was going to say,
yeah,
it's like white guilt to the next level, isn't it?
All right, Tom, you wanted to.
Yeah, I was gonna segue us onto anime.
Oh yeah, that kind of those cartoons things that we watch.
There's fucking weird cartoons that my mum told me not to watch.
There's a lot of it.
I've seen a few of those in my time.
So yeah, I actually wanted to talk about anime reviewers.
Oh god, dude, here we go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what did you want to talk about and why? I should ask.
Well, okay. I've stated some views on anime reviewers to my fellow hosts, and I'm not going to go quite as harsh as I have in the past, but
he hates
You've
the
been saying
lot
that
of
a
them.
lot recently.
personally, anime reviews on YouTube are possibly the form of media that I am least interested in consuming.
Sure.
And I've been trying to think about why that is. And so I kind of want to, I thought you'd be a really good person to have a debate about with this.
Sure.
And also Jonas as well, because Jonas subs to everybody on YouTube.
I mean, anime reviews is basically how I got into anime, weirdly enough, so.
Really?
I guess.
How did that happen?
I got into I watched Elfen Lied. The second thing I watched was High School of the Dead because I watched Karen's review in it.
Nice. No, I mean, that's I mean, for me recently, my friend, who's really into comic books, just watched without like any pressure from like anyone, he of his own accord watched Shiki, like all of it. And I was like, wow, it was just really impressive because I've known it for like 12 years or something now. And so to like have my friend actively seek out anime was really interesting because then you see how they kind of attempt to, procure more. So for instance, he wants to go into like, he just like last week watched all of Dead Man Wonderland and I once watched Tokyo Ghoul. And so it's really interesting, like seeing how that manifests. Cause when we were like, whenever we were just getting into anime, it was, at least for me, it was a very similar situation of like, for me, what like revitalized it was actually Negima. I always pinpoint Negima as like this really important catalyst in me. Because it wasn't what Negima was, it's what Negima pointed me in the direction of, which was like this weird pipe tunnel of like Love Hina, which was like also irrelevant as far as like what got me into anime. But it was enough to where like then you kind of get an idea of what you're looking for and where to find it, right? Because it was before all that I watched, Code Geass and Eureka 7 and I really liked them, but I didn't actively seek out anime, right? It's something that I really like and appreciate a lot, but I don't care about as like a medium. And I think that like everyone has that moment, and getting past that is how you become an anime fan. Because it's easy to like something,
that's
right?
Absolutely true for me as well.
I've never actually had that myself. I think I had a friend tell me about Elfen Lied back when I just started. And he told me to watch it because it's apparently amazing, and I watched it, and I fucking loved it. And like he, of course, mentioned like the word anime with it all the time. So I was just like, oh, I should look for more of this. And I don't know, I've never really had this thing of I've had this not seeking it out actively before watching my first show, but after watching it, I almost immediately started like watching, like looking for more of this new stuff I've just found.
I think a lot of it, though, occurs a lot earlier than maybe what you're realizing. So, for instance, the very common answer to a lot of people is like Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh! Are both anime that people enjoy, but they don't seek out anime just because they enjoyed it.
Yeah, I just remembered, actually. I used to read a lot of manga like before that. That might have been that.
That's a pretty significant contributor. For instance, people who like cartoons a lot, because there's a lot of crossover. Jesus, dude, I'm cracking today, dude. I'm cracking up. Holy shit. Dude, I've been trying to drink so much water, dude, because so I've been working After Effects all day, right? And my room is fucking hot. Like, I'm sweating right now. And for the rest of the world that's outside, those fools, it's about 45 degrees Fahrenheit or like around like 6 or 7 C, right? It's pretty cold.
Yeah.
And so,
right.
That's like the normal stuff here.
I'm sweating right now. And so I'm sorry about my revival. I guess it's just I'm reliving my puberty now that I'm talking about this shit. But so
your voice is
now that I mention it, right, I think my puberty had like a lot to do with this, right? Because I feel like a lot of themes of angst, right, that are like portrayed in anime, you as a teenager, or for me as a teenager, because I got into anime as like a teenager, were really like reflected and like reciprocated. I got reciprocated with them because like the themes of like all of that teenage angst and everything are so predominantly and heavy-handedly portrayed in anime. Like, I remember I felt like I could just relate to these characters because like they seemed like they were just as much like in like a mess as I was at that point.
Yeah, like I can relate to Sasuke on a personal level.
I don't think in my prime angst years I watched any anime. That was actually like the middle point from when I was like watching it as a kid to when I got into it later on.
Yeah, that was when me and Cassie became goths.
I mean, I wasn't... that was pretty much when I got into anime as well. I can't remember relating it to anything personally, but I might have just been like subconsciously and never realized it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of the common things I hear, at least.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense. That's totally true. I was just saying that's not necessary.
This is like the third time we're bringing up how we got into anime because we recorded an episode like 5 of us. like 5 of us all talking about how we got into anime, and then Jonas joined the podcast, so we like asked him, and now we're talking about it. Now we're talking about it with you.
No, but I think that like the only reason I mention it, right, is because how we got into it is very different than how the next generation gets into it, right? And so the idea and principle of reviewing becomes essential only because the way of procuring anime is so drastically different than what we had to go through. The fact that we are capable of actively being selective as to what we want to watch and what not is very much a result of like the modern day. And we didn't have that, or at least, again, I didn't have that. And so like, it was just television. It wasn't until years later and like being able to like be adjusted to the internet and stuff that I was able to find out about anime and like more readily consume it. Because before it was literally just a passive activity that happened occasionally because the networks decided it to be.
Yeah. So going back to anime reviews, I think the problems I personally have with anime reviews and the reason why I'm just really not interested in watching them anymore is mostly just because of like how I've like grown as a person and also as an anime fan. Like, so like I still believe that the primary function of a review of any kind, whether this is like reviewing a new graphics card or a video game or anything, it's a consumer guide. It's a purchasing recommendation. Like, should you buy this product? Yes or no?
I don't think so. Sorry, finish.
Well, all I'm saying is like that's to me. To me, that's what it's valid.
Yeah, I just personally disagree with it. Because like for me personally, it's like I watch a lot of reviews just to hear people's opinions. I'm relatively interested in just knowing what people think about something. I don't necessarily.
Yeah, and I think because let's be honest, anime probably is the most pirated medium in the West. Even among TV, it's got to be. Yeah. It's got to be just because it's so difficult to watch. It's barely on television. Buying DVDs and Blu-rays is not as extortionate as it used to be.
It's not really that it's difficult to watch now. Like, it's difficult to watch some series.
It's got a lot better. Things like Crunchyroll and that. It has got better.
It used to be
when I was getting into anime, I had no money and anime was stupid expensive. So I just fucking pirated everything. Like, I think we all did.
Yeah, I feel bad if I pirate a video game, and like I pretty much almost never, but I do not give a shit when it comes to anime because buying it is obscene. Like,
yeah,
it's just the mindset that people have gotten into by now. Like, as I said, things like Crunchyroll make accessing legal anime legally so easy. Like you pay $5, but also you pay $5 a month, and that's it. But just the mindset of like anime, since anime used to be so inaccessible, like people just had it carry over. That's what I think.
Yeah, but it's still like watching an anime on Crunchyroll, you're still not buying that anime. You know what I mean? It's still, you're paying a fee to a service that lets you access a library. You're not owning that anime. It's still not a purchasing choice you're making. Like actually buying anime, buying DVDs is still pretty uncommon. I don't think anime DVDs sell very well.
Like, I only own 3 series.
Even then, it's become a lot cheaper. Like I think if you compare like the US prices to prices here in Germany, US is really cheap actually.
I know. This is a topic. This is a separate topic we could talk about for an hour.
Yeah,
but
probably.
I just want to talk about how this is relevant to my point, which is that I think for anime reviews more than almost any other type of review, people aren't tuning into an anime review to be convinced why they should watch a series. They're either watching them for entertainment or to validate their own opinions, or at very least to see what this person that they know and respect thinks about this anime so they can download that opinion and use it on the internet.
That's not really what I use reviews for. I use reviews to find out if something really is worth watching. If none of my friends have seen the show and I can't get an opinion out of them, I'll look for a review up on YouTube.
Sure. I mean, I don't. Like, that's my point. This is why... all I'm doing here is explaining why they just lost all meaning. So personally, I'm not insecure on my own opinions enough to where I ever feel the need to validate them. Like, I really don't
Really?
care.
I honestly could not ever guess that.
Yeah, I've never before.
I genuinely don't care what other people think about other stuff. I don't care if I was the only person on the planet that adores Cross Ange. That's not going to change my opinion on that show. One
day I'll watch it, Tom, and I'll tell you it's shit.
I can't wait for people to watch that and tell me how crazy
Actually, if I
am,
watch it and think it's shit, I'm not ready to back that up against you. Fuck that.
It's pretty
No,
bad,
I will
to be
roll
honest.
over like a puppy dog. It is shit in so many ways, but it's so fun. Anyway, so I don't watch it for that. I don't, and I guess this is where it's really coming down to personal opinion, but I personally think there are very, very few anime YouTubers that are genuinely entertaining. And I think Garnt has a monopoly on that, personally.
I think Garnt's a hack, but that's because that's what I have to call my friends.
I mean, you're the only person in this group, like in this call at the minute, that actually knows the guy personally.
He's
So
probably my best
I'm
friend still.
I'm going to talk as a viewer rather than Like his stuff is entertaining. It is like really entertaining. That guy's got a lot of talent.
He's okay.
Which kind of sours the sours the pot because I don't think anyone else holds up to that.
So there's two like modes, right? There's two modes to take, right? There's entertainment and education, right? Those are the two modes of a review. Anything that goes outside of that usually doesn't boil down or like doesn't really amount to anything, right? So the difference is like entertainment, I find personally completely invaluable. I used to think entertainment was like the only thing that was like super important, right? And now I think it's just completely worthless. I think entertainment and a review, it's to me worthless entirely. I think making an entertaining review, you might as well do something better with your time than review anime to try to entertain people. I think educating is always, for me, been my personal goal with reviewing. Because I feel like it's much more valuable than to just make someone laugh. Because it's easy to make someone laugh. It's not that hard. You don't even have to be good at it. You have to be like somewhat competent, for instance. Like I don't think Ava Bridged, right? I think every abridge ever is just total garbage. I hate abridges with like every fiber of my being. Part of this, right, is because I don't find much stuff funny. Like I don't find the bastardization of hard work to be funny. And so I will never understand, like, the appeal of it. Like, I get it, like, fundamentally, but I'll personally never have it. I get it. I understand why it's funny, because it's, like, this parody work that, you know, uses, like, the audience's existing knowledge of the source material to amplify the comedic, like, everything, right? And so, but usually it just boils down to referential humor that if you don't have, kind of just goes over that. And so that's why I always hated bridges, right? And so I don't think entertainment is what I ultimately decided I wanted to do. Because I did it for a long time. And I tried really hard. And it's really cringy, in my opinion, watching entertaining reviewers.
That's like, I'll get to that.
And because I think a lot of reviewers, a lot of it, right, comes down to just figuring out and calculating. Because, I mean, if you ask me or Garant or any other reviewer, the one thing that most of them will say is like one of the most irritating things of making videos, especially reviews, or just entertaining shit, is that you'll never know what people liked and what people didn't like, because there'll be like one thing that overpowers all of it. So whenever, like, for instance, whenever we were making Ava Bridged, right? Like, the thing that constantly came up was, he didn't know if what he was doing or writing was like that funny, because there was like one thing that would just overpower the comments and no one would mention the rest, right? And so a lot of it's like, no, it's just guess and check. It's like, you're just assuming that people think it's good. And so it's like the problem with like YouTube videos in general. Like your feedback is very skewed by like a pivotal point, right? Where it's like, you did something in this video that's worth commenting about, but the rest of the video that you maybe tried really equally hard on goes completely to the wayside because that's not comment worthy. Like this point is comment worthy.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
And so that's a really common problem with like making entertainment. Like that's like a common like aggravating issue with making entertaining content, because it's just like, oh wow, you know, this obviously went really well. There's 1,000 comments about this, but what did they think of the rest of it? Like, where was this not doing good, right? Because almost understanding how you did something not well is probably more invaluable than what you did really well.
Because strengthening your weaknesses is like something that like most content creators really want to do, but you know, they don't get told often, right? They're not just told like, I feel like you're like doing this wrong, or like, I feel like this is lacking. And so I think the reason that like reviewing is interesting to me is because the entertaining reviews are so easy to watch because it's just it's entertainment, right? It's this easy thing where they're hiding this message to you. They're like, oh, look at this. It's like this message that like, you should watch this show, you shouldn't watch this show. Whereas analytical reviewers usually are like, you have to have the audience be fully invested in what you're saying, and you have to make them want to listen. And that's always what makes it fun for me, right? That's why I like reviewing really bad shows that I know are just garbage going inwards, because it's so fun to take a show and let me explain why it's bad. Like, why is this a failure? Rather than just say it's good or bad. Because that's the most common thing in a review, I guess. The most common reviewers are just like, I liked this or I didn't like this. And I think that is the most worthless thing that a review can do.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah, analytical reviews are by far the most interesting stuff to me. I kind of agree with Holden. I tend to enjoy entertaining videos about anime, but usually they're kind of this thing that I'll enjoy, but I won't really think about it afterwards. Like it's never the kind of video where I'll go, oh man, this was so funny, I'll have to rewatch this. If I'll rewatch a video, it's usually something that's educational or really well written in terms of like what it wants to express, etc. Like those are the kind of videos. And so
it's like the difference, right, between like someone who's trying to do analytical stuff and top 10s, right? It's like top 10s, hypothetically, like in the perfect world, are equally as valid as any review. In fact, they're quantifying what is good and bad in a sequential pattern that allows you to know what is the best out of this like specific list. The problem is, right, in practice, they're actually just these clickbaity like things where it's just there's no actual like rhyme or reason to it. It's just trying to rake in views, right? And so like there's a lot of like stuff like that, right? So like whenever there's a new show, there used to be, there's not anymore, but like back like a few years ago, there was always a contest of who could make the first quality abridge of this show, right? Or nowadays it's like a lot of it's who can make a quality review of this show the fastest, right? And that's always been like a game because it's always like, you know, top of the results will always be the best spot to be in with any video that you'll ever make. It's always the best spot because it's the place that people are most likely going to gravitate towards when they're with anything, right? And so the reason that it's always like this game now, because that's what it feels like more recently. It feels like a game of like everyone wants to do it. Or at least recently, there's been this huge like resurgence of just like people wanting to make like YouTube videos about anime, which wasn't the case when I started like 3 years ago or something. Back when I started, it was just never like that.
I think it actually weirdly enough, I think you were one of the bigger influences in this, because like especially through Potaku, like there was a bunch of people that were getting really popular at the time, like Gant, Tristan, like those kind of people were all getting really popular.
To give it perspective, right? When I met Garant and Tristan, me and Tristan were close in subscribers at like 1,300, and Garant was sitting on top with around 6,000. And so,
holy shit!
Well, this is whenever we all met 3 years ago, and
that's old school as fuck. I didn't realize like how early you guys met.
Like whenever I actually have a picture of it. I have a picture, like this framed photo, and it's not framed, but I have a screenshot in Google Drive of whenever Garant subscribed to me. And when he subscribed to me, I think he had just over 6,000 subscribers. And so like now he's got like 320,000 or something, right? And so it's all about like who did it earliest. Like I see my, like, the fingerprints of what I do in other people's work. Like, I can see the clear line of influence that I've, like, left on the community.
Yeah.
Dude, every single... Okay, so this is, like, getting onto my next problem with anime reviewers. They're all fucking copycats. Like, they all have to speak in the same fucking, like, stupid, retarded voice. They all have to act like... Well, okay, I'm gonna stop saying all, but most... like, feel the need to act like fucking ADD idiots. You know what I mean? Like, like, are you trying to relate to me are you trying to relate to your
I think
audience? Because I find that
It's
insulting.
usually just like dude, this is funny, right? And I'm like, dude, this is fucking cringe, dude. Like, stop.
Yeah.
It's just I just find it really difficult to connect to the type of people that are making YouTube videos now.
So
And I do want to.
I agree.
Yeah, go on.
No, because
I was gonna say, it just sounds like they're doing like a gimmicky thing.
yeah.
And that is what gets a lot of views most of the time.
Yeah.
Like, if that's all they're after, there they go. They got it.
Because a lot of people,
Yeah.
you have
Yeah.
to understand, wants to be popular in this game, right? Whereas, like,
Yeah.
so it doesn't matter what you do to do so. It's just a matter, the end result, it's all that matters, right? And so I remember the whole reason I made Holden Reviews was that for about about a year and a half or like 2 years before I even made my first review, I just made like unboxings and stuff, right? And I did it a lot more consistently than how I make reviews. But I think that the big thing is that like I was doing it because it was the way of connecting with anime fans because they were too hard to find in like my daily life. And so it's really interesting now because it's like people are doing it now because they see that there's the potential of fame and now they're in the pursuit of it. Whereas like before, there was the idea of fame was literally 1,000 subscribers. Like that was like famous.
Yeah.
And so it never like had gravity to it because you'd see like people like at this time, for instance, this will just date how old Ongo was. At this time, machinima was like the biggest thing on YouTube.
Oh my god, yeah. Oh my
By
gosh.
far.
These are the days. This is my childhood you're describing
And
right
so
now, dude.
it was a lot more appealing to be Scene Anders or Hutch than it was to be like, for instance, it was a lot more appealing to be that than, Jess Otaku or, anyone in the community at that time or like, Hard's anime reviews or, like Grumpy G-san. The community was so small, we had a few sociopaths, we had my boy Trey Sessler, Mr. Anime. But the community was so small that it allowed for this kind of, this like camaraderie. And it wasn't a pursuit of fame, is what it didn't feel like. It didn't, because first off, we did this when there was no money involved. And we never thought there could be money involved. We knew Machinima was making money, and it wasn't because, like, Google AdSense and stuff. It's because they were, like, getting paid content and whatnot, right? And so it was a lot different back then, because we did this without the pretense of there ever being the possibility of there being money. Whereas now that money's on the table, you can't avoid it. You can't avoid the fact that money will be made potentially from this. And it becomes much more of a lucrative avenue that people can like go down. For instance, like you can make a top 10 channel, like for instance, Mystic Carnexia, and get 800,000 subscribers and use that to live off of. Whereas you couldn't do that just even like 3 years ago. You couldn't live off of it. That's for sure. And so I think that's like a really big difference now. And that's why everyone feels so like generic and copy paste is because there's a lot more incentive to become an anime YouTuber. It's like because there's all these success stories. Like there's all these people like, wow, dude, he didn't have any subscribers and now look at him, dude. He's got like 50,000 or 100,000 now or something. And so it's so easy to get caught up in like the success stories and not necessarily have like a noble reason to do it. And I'm not saying a noble reason's necessary to do it. That's an important distinction to make.
The scale of that is mind-boggling to me because to me, like success on YouTube is like a Minecraft Let's Play.
Sure.
Like we're talking like 50,000 to like if you're getting into anime reviewing on YouTube because you want that YouTube money, you're doing it wrong. You need to be a Minecraft Let's Player, and like as a bonus, you get to molest children.
Yeah. So like most people, right, would say that, right? And I used to think that. In fact, there's a Let's Play channel of me playing games as well, but. Because it was so easy.
You want to plug that?
I don't really care about it because I haven't used it in like 7 years. But the important thing to realize with that, right, is that there's a lot more people at the shouting contest there than there is here. Your voice is a lot more likely to get heard amongst this crowd than that one. And that's kind of like the allure of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Is like, this is kind of like almost like the Wild West, right? So I've been working on like the anime hierarchy for years now, right? And so I've seen the growth of it and whatnot on this list. The way that it currently is, there's less than around 30 or 40 channels with over 100,000. Which, by comparison, the gaming community
has hundreds of channels with over 100,000. Like, it's not...
Thousands?
Yeah, it's...
Surely.
No, hundreds of people with hundreds of thousands of subscribers in the gaming community. It's not as uncommon as it is here. And because of that, it's a lot easier to look at this and say, well, there's less people running here, my odds are a lot better. And so,
I
that's
guess
like,
so.
if someone is in it for just like the money, or wanting to get this like foundation, the reason the anime community is so alluring is because like, well, there's so few attendees, my chances at winning are exponentially higher here than over there. And that's like this is coming from someone who like did it firsthand, because like at first like I wanted to do like gaming stuff, right? And the reason it doesn't work out is because everyone's doing it. Whereas like the reason I ultimately did anime stuff was like I felt like nobody was doing it, because I had friends in real life that played games with me all the time, but I had no one in real life that like watched anime, and so like it was really different.
Yeah,
for me,
that's the exact same reason I actively tried to get onto an anime podcast. Turns out, guys, it's really fucking easy. You just ask someone with like 10 subs and they'll suck your dick to get you on the podcast.
I mean, it's not that hard to get on a podcast. Like, I can agree to that.
Yeah, I did that because I have no friends in real life that watch anime, and I just like none of my gaming friends online watched anime either. So I had no one to talk to. It about.
Yeah, because I mean, back then it was Xbox Live just released the party system, and that was everyone in my high school.
For me, it was like I tried to get into YouTubing. I did a few videos. I might do more again because like it's actually quite fun. I'm enjoying it. The reason I actually started it back then was mostly just like I had these people I admired, that like the big reviewers I admired back then, and like kind of copying them and kind of like wanting to do the same thing as they do, I guess, in a way, because like it looked really fun. And like I had written at the time already, like for a while, and I don't know, I never really thought about like anything being popular or anything. Like it was like a thought in the back of my mind. Like, maybe what if this blows up or anything? But like it never happened. It never happened anyway. So I don't know.
I mean, that's common though. But I mean, like,
yeah, a
lot of people, me included, right, imitated the people that we looked up to when it came to reviewing, right? So my first videos are basically just copy and paste of Ben Yazzie Croswell, right? And that's because The Escapists, they had like the best reviewer at the time. Like, Yahtzee was like the best out there. And so it's like what Garrett copied too. Like, it was what everyone was doing at the time. And then it's only whenever you make enough videos and you try to deviate out of your comfort zone that you find your own style. And so for me, it was like whenever I made my Ananas de Matsu review, I realized that I wanted to make videos that weren't funny. That I wanted to make videos that made people think and like just like reflect on everything that was being shown and said. And that's when I got really into just like my style, I guess is what it is now. Because like my style is usually like characterized by like just analytics and like graphics and stuff. Like it's like I like numbers a lot, so I put the numbers in to like reward people for watching it. Like the numbers don't even like necessarily like I don't even agree with them all the time. I have a list that I compare them to and stuff, but like the numbers are for the viewer to feel like they're getting somewhere. They're milestones in the video itself to feel like you're progressing. And I got like really like into just like the mechanics of like what it was for me to make a video. And so that's what it became for me, was like this like crazy weird art form, because if I couldn't review an anime well, then there's no way I could make an anime well, which is like with what I would love to do with my animation degree and everything. So like that's why I take it so seriously in comparison to like a lot of other people who are just doing it to like kind of put their opinions on paper, because you know they need some kind of validation from, be it comments or other videos that say the same thing. And
I can relate to that a lot, actually. Not from an animation perspective, but from a writing perspective. One, like my pipe dream, my like, it would be like my dream career would be to be a writer. Like, I'm working on a novel. It's probably going to be shit, but like, I didn't even want to start writing anything until I like considered myself to be at least in education in English. Like, I I'm currently doing a part-time degree in English literature and writing. And I just felt like there wasn't any point like writing anything until I'd started putting in that work to study how to write, because I just didn't want to be another person who like, you know, just goes out there like some fucking amateur that thinks their shit's the best.
I mean, I'm a fucking amateur who thinks my shit's the
Holden
best.
and Holden Animation Company, when?
I don't know. I really
I will write and you'll animate it. Like,
I'm really excited to get animating because like it's my dream. And then like, so like the whole reason I review now isn't to pour out content or because I get paid to do it, which I do. I do get paid. I'm not going to be just facetious about it. I mean, I make 80% of my profit, 20% goes to my network or something like that, but that's standard protocol. So there's no money for me to do it. My viewer base is fairly decent, right? But it's like, why don't I do anything, right? And the reason is because I don't do it because people want me to do it. I do it because I enjoy doing it. And I think that's the thing that a lot of people are lacking nowadays, is because a lot of people don't have the same kind of like passion going into it. And they don't do it because they want to do it. They do it because of like they want something out of it, right? And I think that once you approach YouTube in a way of wanting something from it, you fall victim to the system. You basically fall victim to whatever is the most lucrative way. Like, what are the best keywords to put in the tags? What are the best topics to do? What's the format to do?
Yeah.
You fall victim to all of it.
I mean, dude, holy shit, that's Twitch right now.
Twitch right now is literally the format of Twitch, right?
It's a gold rush.
But the format of Twitch, right, was influenced by people who were the most popular, right? Like, I would, like, dare say, Soda Poppin', like, revolutionized Twitch and everything it became. Because, like, without him, the format of, like, a guy just sitting there, being kind of just snide about stuff, wouldn't have existed. We could still be in an age where people are just screen capping shit. There's no face cam or whatever, right? And I'm sure that, like, Soda Pop's not the main reason for that, but it's impossible to ignore a man who has, like, made a whole living out of this.
Yeah.
And so it's super interesting.
Yeah, but like I tune into any random Twitch and it's just like, oh, you're copying this guy. Or well, more likely the Twitch streams I tune into are booby streams, and that's just self-explanatory.
And that's just kind of the state of what Twitch is, right? Because you fall victim to what is the most popular, right? So if you don't have a nice pair of C or better, well then you're actually SOL. Like you're completely shit out of luck.
Oh, no. That's not 100% true. I saw an ass streamer once, dude.
I've seen an ass stream where what it was that if the person
she bent over. Yeah, she bent over and picks things up. I think we're talking about the same person.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I remember seeing a post about that, and I checked it, and I was like, holy fuck, like, could we be more, like, blatant? I was like, there's some quality Diana jungle gameplay here.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, you're really playing your role right now.
But like, I'm not going to make a comment on like whether like our booby stream is good or bad, but that's definitely people chasing the gold. Like,
but it's people falling victim.
Yeah,
to the system,
because that's what makes
that's
money. Like, booby streamers make money, so.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't call them victims. I think they're doing quite well.
I mean, there's like you have the victim booby streamers, right? The ones who like love being antagonized because being antagonized gets you more donations and stuff, right?
So if you donate $5 to me,
you
you can say something and I'm going to pretend to cry to it.
Yeah, exactly, right? And so like it's all because it worked for one.
No, I like them because I appreciate the ability to make money off idiots. I appreciate that.
Yeah, see, I also feel that way, except every time I fucking try to watch, like, Casey Tron or whatever, it's, like, about 3 minutes before I'm just done.
Okay, no, that's the thing. Coming back
weird,
to, like, appreciate versus enjoy. I appreciate those streams. I don't necessarily enjoy them. Like, there's a streamer, I've seen, like, a bunch of highlights of her streams. It's Brittany something. It's Brittany Vel something, I think. And I remember I tuned into this streamer ages ago, and she was just like chatting and shit, and she was like being quite offensive and clearly being herself, and then she just went into this act of like being a crybaby, and like her viewership shot up during that stream, and now like that's all she does. That's all she does is just do the crybaby act.
Yeah, she puts satanic crosses on her forehead now, and that's basically it.
Why does the general public have such shit taste?
There's so many parallels to draw between the like anime at the minute and Twitch. Like, why?
Well, because like I would say like a really big thing with consumer, right, is anonymity, right? So like a big part of it is that there's no consequences for your actions. So it's a cathartic release for those who want to like
do something that normally in like public wouldn't be acceptable. And so it's this really...
That still concerns me.
That's like the rationale. Like that's exactly what it is. It's like, the reason like 4chan is the way it is because it's an Anon board. Like, because everyone's anonymous, there's no consequences to anything you say or do. And because of that, people find it as a cathartic release. Because like, imagine if you lived in this like super regimented lifestyle, and then all of a sudden you would like, for like 1 hour a day or something, you could just shitpost the wildest fucking like garbage, and then people would receive it.
That's the most logical explanation.
I know that feeling all too well.
On the internet exist I've ever heard.
But it's exactly why. It's like, it's this release. It's like, because if you do that in real life, you're actually gonna get your ass kicked.
See, that's the thing. I have no desire to troll and shitpost on the internet because I am a cunt in real life. Like,
and so like, it all depends, right? On like, what level of vulnerability you want to put out there, right? Because like, there's consequences for your actions if it's very clearly you. Like, if someone Google searches your name and then all of a sudden these 404 threads pull up where you're just being this blatant fucking asshole to everyone, the companies would be like, wow, what a fucking asshole. Like,
no, they do.
It's not going to work. Whereas it does happen.
Yeah, I know. I went on a training seminar about like internet security, and half of it they were talking about.
Oh yeah.
Check your fucking Twitter, check your Facebook. Don't be racist. Don't be anything, dude, because people check. Like 80% of employers are checking people's Facebooks and Twitters now.
No, of course, and that's something like important, right? And like the reason that like I try and love work. I don't even like working on my review. I enjoy it a lot. I don't love it anymore. I really like the product and everything, but working on it's really taxing. But the reason I put all that effort in is because, like, it's all work that someone will look at someday and potentially be like, wow, this guy knows what he's talking about. We can have him on the team. Or, like, it's basically just a reel of my skills, of, like, what I can do as an animator and whatnot. Even if it's not, like, I'm animating it, it's still, like, there's a lot of technical things I'm doing that can, like, be appealing to someone. And that's, like, what I, like, get out of it. Is, like, I really enjoy it because I like pushing myself to become a better animator, like work and know my programs better and like record better audio. Like, how do I get more of an emotional reaction out of like my audience or something? And that's why I love reviewing, is because the way that I've done it now it's not to get the like, it's not to get people to share it. It's to make someone watch the video and without telling them, having them subscribe to the channel because they were affected in some way, shape, or form. And that's the reason I do everything I do with YouTube now, is because it's all about making something that leaves some kind of impact on someone, even if it's just a small
That's
way.
a noble cause.
And that's why, like, I don't ask people to subscribe to me. I don't ask people to like the video. Like, I used to do it. I used to have like
comment, and subscribe.
I know, yeah, of course. But I also had like, back in the day, I used to always have, like so many people, have those pre-made like image thumbnails for the next video, or like, you can click on this shit over here, like, you know. Like, it's all of, like, the circumventing, the view, making, ringing the viewer for more of a ride, getting more out of, that one click that they made originally and trying to get more out of it. Whereas now I'm like, I put everything on the table and I say, this is everything that I've got to offer. And then I let my work speak for itself. And that's all I try to do. I try to be someone who's really accessible. That's why I'm here right now, right? I'm the self-proclaimed champion of the people. I will never disable comments on a video, ever. Like, that is, to me, actually probably the worst fucking thing on YouTube, by far. If you cannot handle, like, any kind of input, you shouldn't be on fucking YouTube. Like, that's always my view.
You shouldn't be on the internet,
it always irritates the shit out of me. Where someone's like, yo, dude, I just can't handle it. And I'm like, get the fuck off a public platform, then. Like... I'm like, how can you not deal with the heat, dude? These are fucking comments.
It does seem like really spoiled, like, I'm trying to think of the word, I can't think of the English, but like expecting to have the ability to speak on a public platform without having the consequences of a public reaction. That just seems like
I want all the credit, none of the blame.
Pretty much.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, I really like engaging with people on YouTube, because, like, these people never expect people to reply. And that's something I've found out recently, or not even recently, just for, like, a long time now,
if someone shoots me like a message on my YouTuber's video or something and leaves a comment, I almost always reply. If someone shoots me a tweet, if it's like a question directed at me, I'll reply. Like, it's so easy to get in contact with me because I'm not trying to be an entity. I'm trying to be like a person. There's a reason it's called HoldenReviews. And that's because before anything else, I'm Holden. I'm a guy that I want to feel like I'm accessible in some kind of way, shape, or form. And that's why, like, whenever people like they react so genuinely if you reply. Like, they're like, oh my god, dude, I'm such a big fan. I cannot believe you replied and stuff. And that, like, it makes me happy that they feel that way. But it's like, it's so great because I feel so humbled that they can, like, that they even, like, care about what I do. Because when I look at paper, what I do, right? What the fuck do I do, right? I talk about, like, Chinese cartoons on, like, some kind of, like, Vimeo site. Like, what, who cares? Like, why does that doesn't fucking matter.
Man after my own heart.
It's everything that you get from it is what matters to me, personally. Yeah. And that's why I like doing it.
That's pretty cool, actually.
You've just really fucking motivated me to work in a video.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just between us and anyone watching. I don't know if you guys can put this up or whatever. I probably will have my video done.
No, we're going to cancel the entire thing.
Really done really soon, so everyone be on the lookout. If you want, go on your web browser, type in Holden.reviews. Trust me, it works. It's really interesting. I bought .reviews, so if you're interested in a .reviews domain, hey, you know who to contact. But yeah, Holden.reviews or HoldenReviews.com. Either one works. But yeah, just be checking around.
Wow.
And don't forget
Confirmed.
to like, comment, and subscribe, guys.
I'm just saying. But check it out. I don't know when this is coming out, but I should have something out
It should be, I think this
like
episode's next Thursday, hopefully.
Okay,
yeah,
well,
I think
the new video will hopefully be out, so everyone go watch it. And I don't know, see if it's good or not. I don't know.
Should we actually talk about real anime then?
Dude,
yeah.
Dude. I just have to go to the bathroom first, dude. Holy shit. Dude,
Yeah, I need to go for a pee as well.
I actually snuck out like while Jonas was talking because I thought that would be like the most irrelevant part of the podcast. I just snuck out and had a cheeky piss.
Wow, thank you.
Well, that's real nice of you, Tom.
And on that note, I'm going for a piss.
Jonas is my marked target. I can't.
It's okay. It's okay. We'll just fight it. We just fight each other until
Yeah. I'm Naruto. You're Sasuke. No, wait. Is that what I want? Hang on.
Oh my god.
I don't know. I feel like I'm edgier than you. I feel like you're the guy who's trying to please everyone. So I think I'm probably Sasuke.
Wow.
Yeah, you're probably the edgier one.
Probably. Yeah. Probably.
That's fine. That's
Jonas
fine by me
is
as well
pretty
because Sasuke's way gayer than Naruto.
I'm just really excited because, like, I should have my next video done probably this week, to be honest.
Yeah, that'll be.
I was working on it just before here. And I've been working on this video for about 9 months now. I've been working on it since June 2015.
Have you announced the title or what the video's called? Okay, so
no one knows that.
Is it a review? Do you feel you want to answer that? Is it a review or is it something?
Is it a review? Oh
okay,
yeah,
it's a review.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I can also say it's my longest review to date.
How long?
Very long.
Okay.
It's a long video.
Ooh.
Holden.
Well, we got some super secret details here.
Whatever the fuck.
I mean,
yeah, whatever.
He's
the fuck
releasing a
Holden's
review
doing.
soon.
You heard it here first.
yeah, I mean, it's a video. To me, it's a video that means it's basically the essence of everything I'm trying to do.
Would you say it's your magnum opus?
I mean, every new video I do is, because if I'm not improving, I'm not releasing videos. It's that simple. If the video is worse than my previous one, it doesn't get released. So this is going to be interesting because this review is so good. And it took me 2 years to basically beat my previous video, which is Photo Kano. And
Jesus Christ.
yeah, it took me 2 years to make that review. Well, it didn't take me 2 years. It's been 2 years since that review. And because I remember I released it just a few months before my first and the first and only Pataku panel we ever held, which is an Anime Expo 2014. Anime Expo, Anime Central 2014, with Tristan, Jean, and Garant. It was the first and only panel we ever did. And I released the video about like 3 months before it. And I remember being like, man, I was just feeling so good. Because, I mean, it's really exciting releasing a video, and I haven't done that in so long. And so, I mean, right now, I've only got, I think, 3 scenes left. I've edited over, God,
I mean, let me just put it this way, right? The folder that I'm editing from is 486 gigabytes big, because it's just a lot of stuff.
All those HD RAWs.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't need RAWs because you can just use, you can just like splice like subtitle tracks and stuff from releases.
Sure. What are you watching right now then? Have you been keeping up with this current season?
No, not at all. I have, because it started when I was in Japan still.
Oh, okay.
And while I was in Japan, I made a really big point to myself that I wasn't going to watch any anime. I'd watch it if it was there, or if I was on, I went to the movie theaters, and for instance, I watched Kizumonogatari and stuff, right? And I did all that, but the thing I was making a point not to do was watch anime on Crunchyroll or something, whatever. Not that you could watch it in Crunchyroll anyway, because Crunchyroll's blocked in Japan. But so I didn't really watch anything because this all started in January, and I still lived in Japan back then.
Okay.
So I haven't been watching anything really because it hasn't restarted yet.
Sure.
And I don't want to
Is there anything?
So I'm just reading
is there
a lot
anything
of
from
manga.
this season that's caught your eye that you think you're definitely going to go watch?
Oh yeah, I mean I'm definitely going to watch Erased. That's the most commonly talked about one.
Yeah.
And
You should watch
it's
Rocket.
pretty
I think you'd
fucking
like
dope.
it.
It's 2-3. What is it? It's 2-3-5, aspect ratio. Big fan of that aspect ratio.
Wow.
2-3-5 is a pretty nice aspect
I think
ratio.
maybe aspect ratio might be the thing I care about least when we talk about anime. You saying that actually brought such clarity into my head as wow, aspect ratio, who the fuck cares? I had this washed over me. So not about current then. What's have you been watching anime recently? What are you watching?
I'm watching the Ramayana, which is a Indian-Japanese produced film based on the the Indian epic novel series, the Ramayana, which is the creation myths of India and Hinduism.
Whoa, this sounds fucking cool. I've heard of this.
It was made for the 50th anniversary of Japan and India's alliance with one another. And so the Ramayana is what I've been recently watching. It's a 2-hour-long film is the version I've been watching. And
are we talking about something
pretty
similar to that anime where Jesus and Buddha live together? Is that
no, it's not like
God,
that.
I heard about that
it's
one.
It's still, it's not funny, I guess.
well, I mean, that wasn't either.
It's just it's an adaptation of the Ramayana, or an attempt at it. But the reason I like it, it's interesting watching, is I'm watching the Hindi dub of it, which is super cool. Watching an anime in foreign language. That's the same reason I like First Squad. I think First Squad's super cool because it's a Russian dub, and I like foreign dubs a lot that were made with the express intent of it being the original format in which to watch. So I always like anime where it's that's always at the forefront, is something really different like that. So this is definitely the first anime I've ever heard of or watched that was made in Hindi.
Yeah, we should.
Because
I'll
it
let
was
Ravi know about
a joint
that.
I
between
don't think
them.
there's any other.
Does Ravi know Indian? Does Ravi know Indian? I don't know. I'll have to ask him.
It's
I'm pretty
Hindi's
sure
the
he does.
Hindi's the language. Indian's the kind of person.
It's also a really tasty food.
Yeah, it is Indian food.
Indian food
decent
is
best.
the best type of food. No, it is. It is. I'm telling you.
No.
Write it down.
No, it's not.
Just in case you forget,
No,
write it down,
stop.
dude.
You're wrong. You're wrong.
I mean, you're just objectively
Wrong.
wrong now, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's okay though.
Yeah, so that was actually a bit of a flop because you haven't seemed to have been watching much at all. So I'm going to ask what Holden's been watching off the list of topics.
No, I mean, I watch a lot, and I've been reading a lot more than that.
Okay, we'll talk about manga then.
Because,
Jonas reads manga.
Dude, so I've been reading this manga, right?
Sometimes,
it's
at
by Kengo A. I think his name's Kengo, but it's a manga called I Am a Hero, and I Am a Hero
I've heard
is
that one.
a manga about this guy named Hideo surviving in an apocalyptic Japan.
Wait,
Is
any connection to I Am Legend? Okay,
No.
so that's just a
No.
coincidence. That's just
The main character's name is
Will Smith.
is Hideo, but the kanji reads hero, which is why it's called I Am a Hero.
Right, okay, that's really on the nose though. If that's a coincidence, that's pretty crazy because that's really on the nose.
No, I mean, I think it was done intentionally. I'm pretty sure it was done as like a pun of I Am Legend. And it's so good. It's amazingly well drawn. The story is incredible. It is such a cool, it really gets across, like, living in Japan, it so accurately depicts how Japanese life works, because it is all about, like, basically what kind of chaos these, like, zombies and stuff and, like, all this,
so it's
like,
zombies.
Apocalyptic stuff. It depends.
Okay.
It's kind of vague, but yeah. Because
can they go in the sun?
What makes the story so interesting?
Can they go in the sun?
Yeah, I mean, like, anything. I mean,
does he have a dog?
Everything. No.
Okay, this is wearing a little thin now. Actually, I was really hoping this was going to be super.
It's not I Am Legend.
Oh well. No, keep going, dude.
No, I mean, it's so good because it portrays the idea of just kind of the average living and the viewpoint of how the Japanese view their society so well. Because whenever everything starts to crumble, the way that the Japanese view it is just so spot on of, like, how they would do it. Because they basically are just all, like, they have faith in the government that they'll just fix it and stuff, and, like, that they have to believe in the systems. And it just is, like, basically just the Japanese are always just, you know, like, this, another way, like, shogunai, like, it can't be helped is the saying. And then, like, that kind of mentality, that kind of, like, nihilism is, like, kind of manifests itself so well, and it's super cool. It's super fun to read.
How does it compare to Western post-apocalyptic stories? Because post-apocalyptic stories is super common in Western media, but I don't think it's common at all in Japanese media. So
the reason it's not really, or at least it doesn't feel like it. It's the reason I think it's so different is that, like, it sets itself apart right off the bat by, like, the main character being, like, 35, for instance,
I'm sold.
right?
Holy shit, I'm sold.
And so Hideo he's already, like, way older than most protagonists, and thus views the world as kind of just what he's been working in for the past decade. And so what makes the story so interesting is, like, so he's this manga artist, and, like, how he dealt with, like, being rejected as a manga artist, because now he's just an assistant because he couldn't make his own manga successful
that's
enough.
literally Erased. That's the main character in Erased. He's like 29 and a failed.
That's actually kind of somewhat. I've seen this relatively often, actually, this kind of trope where rejected manga artists.
Yeah, I mean,
something.
The reason, I think what's interesting is, like, his reason for, like, wanting to be a manga artist is, like, super interesting, because it's, like, he shares, like, this idea of, like, passion and, like, the idea that making it something that can making a manga that can last hundreds of years that far surpasses the Japanese, you know, the reign of the Japanese that we know today is what he says, basically. And it's such a cool, they made a live action movie of it recently whenever I left Japan. And it's, I don't know, I haven't seen it. I don't want to. I don't like Japanese cinema that much. It's usually, like, really, like, it always feels like they're trying to make it like an anime, is always what it feels like. It feels like they're directing these characters, these actors, to be and, like, emote as much as you would see an animated character emote a certain expression. And so it's always really weird sometimes. My favorite Japanese films are stuff like Dream and stuff, where it's like they're just really slow and somber, and so I can't see this being like that, considering it's apocalyptic.
Yeah, I've actually. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I wasn't saying anything, dude.
Okay, good. I was just gonna say, like, I heard of. I'm not sure what the name was, but I heard of, like, one really good Japanese film that I've, like, at least seems like one of these really slow and somber movies.
Yeah, there's a lot of it.
I don't remember the name, actually.
There's a lot of stuff like there's a lot of stuff like kind of like that, right? Where it's kind of the Japanese have this very nihilistic viewpoint sometimes. I feel like that manifests in a lot of their art. And that comes a lot from, you know, just the idea of shogunai, the idea of it can't be helped. And so it's really interesting kind of like seeing that manifest itself always, because it's, you know, this is a people where, like, their island is slowly sinking, you know, and their response is, you know, it can't be helped. Like, it's accepting, you know, the reality of the world for what it is and not trying to find a silver lining, but rather rather embracing the fact that you can't really change, all of this. And so it's really interesting, kind of always kind of like touching base with those films and stuff, because they're always like really, really different compared to like what you normally find in the West, which is like very upbeat movies. Like for instance, if you want like a really interesting Japanese movie that I just remember what the name was. I just looked it up. It's called Afterlife, right? Because it's what's called Wonderful Raifu in Japanese. And I was like, that's probably not the English title. So I'm not even joking. It's from 1998, but it's called Afterlife in English, right? And Afterlife is like the story of these people. Where I fucking love the premise of Afterlife. It's so cool. Afterlife is the idea that after you die, people have 1 week to choose only one memory to keep with them for eternity. Is what it is. And so it's these dead people's like journey, basically, like rummaging through their life to find the one memory, like the 1 week of their life, basically, that was more valuable to them than everything else in their existence.
That's a really cool premise.
Yeah, that sounds really fucking interesting.
And it's super fucking cool. Like it's such a cool movie. I saw it when I was in Japan. But it's the idea, right? It's like, because it's about death, right? It's about the idea of like, but finding you can only keep one memory for eternity. And so it's like these people basically going through their lives being like, what would that one memory be? Like, is it your first love? Is it, is it the best week of your life? Is it like, what would it be? Like the birth of your child or something? Like, what's the one thing you keep with you forever? Like, what is so much better than the rest of your life that you take it with you? And that's why I think Afterlife is like a really cool movie. But it's movies like that that the Japanese, I think, are really good at making, that are always like really cool to watch. And Afterlife is just one example. There's like tons like it, but Afterlife is the one that came to my head.
The one I was thinking of is Umimachi Diary, or Our Little Sisters is its name in English.
Yep.
I've heard really, really good things about that one. Like, I heard it's really somber, slow as well. I really like those kind of stories in the first place. So
yeah, I really like that as well. And so like,
yeah,
that's what I feel like because like the Japanese are also like really good at gore. I think is like the other thing like their films are really good at is like they've got they have like gore. Like their grindhouse scene is like really active. Whereas in America, it's like it's very niche. It's like Eli Roth, and then that's kind of it. Like, it's like Eli Roth is just kind of like Green Inferno, for instance. This is the most recent example, or like Knock Knock, which was awful. But Green Inferno, which is based off Cannibal Holocaust, which is an equally gruesome film, probably more gruesome. Because I used to really like gore in like grindhouse movies. That was back whenever I was like really afraid of stuff. So the reason I liked watching horror films was I felt like I became more immune to like my actual fears by watching them, because it like desensitized me to my actual fears. And so that was like a really interesting part of me growing up, was watching horror movie marathons during Halloween season in America. And just like, I don't know, because then it's just on TV, the TV censored version. So it's not as graphic or not as scary, but it still would get me the general idea of what it would be. And so I thought it was always really interesting.
What's the best horror movie you've seen?
I mean, my favorite one is, I mean, the scariest usually is like, for me, the idea of I don't know, usually I'd say The Exorcist, but to give like a really...
Really?
Yeah, I mean, most people say that though. I mean, I think it's the most effective at what it does. I guess the problem is I admire it a lot because I'm a filmmaker.
I didn't find that one that
it's
scary,
very of its
though.
time.
Like, in terms of actually like freaking me out.
When Exorcist came out, people lost their minds. Because there
like,
wasn't anything like that.
I admire it so much for like what it is, and that's why I usually just say it. But like, because I mean, I personally was always like, the Blair Witch Project for me was always like weird to me. Because it was just, I watched it at such a weird time in my life where I was like, dude, this is like crazy, man. Like,
I watched that one when I was actually really young, and I'm pretty fucking easy to scare, and I didn't.
Yeah,
I think that's the thing though. I think as a young kid,
the idea of
I think as a young kid, Blair Witch Project would just go totally over your head. It like,
I agree with that.
Blair Witch Project plays on like
was,
very adult fears, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the fear of being watched, and like,
well, I was like 13, 14, I think, so not like child, but pretty young.
Sure.
My favorite, my favorite horror film would probably be The Shining, just from like
Shining's super cool.
It's such a great film. I really haven't seen anything else like it.
I liked it.
But I think the film that actually like got to me the most was The Conjuring, and I think I think The Conjuring. Yeah.
Is that the one at the basement? Yeah, the dead dog.
Yeah, there's like I think there's a dead dog early on. Yeah, and it's like the witch hangs on
early on,
from the
that's
tree
like,
and stuff.
The thing with like in the basement was like the hand on the shoulder or something.
Yeah,
oh,
it has like
shit
the
like that.
best.
Just like not okay with.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't watch a shit ton of horror films, but I just feel like it. I feel like jump scares and gore can be super pandering and lame.
I hate gore in horror, to be honest.
I don't find gore scary. I don't find gore scary
like it
at all.
Yeah, that's exactly
but
what
yeah,
it is.
The Conjuring just got under my skin, and I think horror and comedy are like really hard to explain why things affected you. But
I think
I'd recommend it.
I don't know. For me, The Grudge was the one that freaked me out the most. The Ring plays on more of my fears, but The Grudge, the thing in the bed where she crawls under the blankets or whatever and up, I swear to God, like I kicked my feet up on the couch and I almost jumped over the back of it. I was not okay with that.
I was just going to mention really quick that I just found out that Inuyasha Diary and Afterlife actually have the same director.
Same director? Yeah, it's Hirokazu Koreda, I believe.
Yeah, I looked it up just now, and it's...
Yeah, he's a pretty cool director, dude.
He seems to be. I need to watch his movies, I guess.
Now I think about it,
He's been around a long time.
I don't think there's a single good horror anime.
I mean, it's all
there's
Okay,
good.
Wait.
Anime
Yeah,
that have,
there's
like,
good
horror
anime
within them,
in the
but-
horror genre. I guess I should rephrase that to be there's very well. I've not seen a single effective horror anime.
Yeah, I don't think it feels realistic.
The biggest, the best, in my opinion, always will be the best horror anime. Isn't even a horror anime, but it's the most guttural reaction. There's two, right? One of them is the third Berserk movie, right? And it's not because it's one of the few movies where it's not because it's scary, but it's one of the few movies where the gore in it is so interestingly and well depicted that it's just skin crawling.
Oh yeah, dude, because the like eclipse scene, like in the manga, I haven't seen it. Right? I haven't seen that film, but
it's so incredible.
Fucking
like it's
horrifying.
But it's so but it's drawn.
Yeah,
like that's what makes it so impressive that it elicited such an amazing reaction. Because to get that reaction is really difficult because you'll always have the disconnect of it isn't real, and you'll know it's not real because there's no possible way it's real.
But that's almost played into in the actual thing because that scene is so jarring from like other than like the first couple of chapters. The whole Golden Age arc, it's like so medieval, and then this like it dials it up. It goes from like 1 to 11 like in a click of a finger, and also you're so connected to Guts. It's pretty much the worst fucking things imaginable are happening to this character.
I mean, it's so cool because like that arc was like super interesting because I just 3 months ago or something got up to date with Berserk and everything, so I've read all of it now. And looking back, I always like it's the most quintessential moment that was necessary to happen for everything else that's happened to this point to happen. And so because like everything else, it just feels like kind of like how is he moving on with like his life after this event, and like ever since then, it's always like really interesting, like seeing how that event like basically just like snowballs and ripples its effects into everything that's like happened since.
Yeah, no,
it's always interesting like reading like Berserk, knowing that it took like so long to get to the point they're at, because it doesn't feel that long when you're reading it, but like from the point he meets Roderick and like gets on the boat to in the point that they get off the boat took 7 years actual like real time.
Yeah.
And it took only like 3 volumes in like manga form. Like,
yeah.
And so it's like it's so different. Like the perspective is so skewed.
Wait, are they off the boat?
Yeah, they've been off the boat.
Holy shit. When did this happen?
They've been off the boat for like 2 chapters now. Yeah, they've been off for about...
Is he making Berserk again regularly?
I mean, they were for a little bit.
I should catch up then. I think the last time I checked in, it was like Griffith, or like the caravan was like touring around the Griffiths like city. Yeah, the Falcatopia thing. But I mean, there was
I mean, there was a really interesting thing, which was the writer of Hunter x Hunter is returning to Hunter x Hunter
sure.
That's
cool.
First time in a long time.
I mean, I literally just watched all of Hunter x Hunter this year for the first time on Crunchyroll, so I kind of feel like I jumped the queue.
Did you watch the 2011 version or the?
Oh, the new one. The new one. It just kind of got to the point where there was just so much dedication to that series that it just became I had to watch this. Like, I knew that, and it was just getting to the point where I had the time to get into a series that was like over 100 episodes long. And once that's all I was waiting for. That was all I was waiting for. And then I finished watching Hunter x Hunter, and then I don't know, 2-3 months later the mangaka resumes, and I'm just like, wow. Sure. I bet I feel like I skipped the queue. Like, seriously. Like, people have been waiting for this guy to write some fucking cartoons, like, for fucking decades, right? He's been on hiatus, total.
It's been, like, I think, a few years, yeah. It's been a few years, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pretty big deal. Like, I mean, it's weird because, like, he fell out of so much favor because, like, the stuff that he did right before he went on hiatus was so poorly drawn and stuff.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
And then just, it doesn't matter. Like, everyone's still so invested in Hunter x Hunter that they refuse to, like, they can't stand that they have no influence over what he does.
Yeah. I mean, it's you can see, I guess you could see parallels to that to, like, One's version of One Punch Man. You know, like, people don't care that it's drawn like shit. They're so invested in that world. They will rather read the One's version, you know, the webcomic, than wait for I don't know the guy's name, but the guy who's doing like the proper manga, you know?
Sure.
Like, I guess when you get invested enough to a point, quality doesn't matter. You just want the story.
Yeah, I mean, I always think that's like super interesting because I've heard that exact like argument many times. The argument of Wong versus the iShield 21 mangaka.
Oh, really?
And,
I feel smart.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot.
I feel smart then, because...
Yeah, it's a really common one because then also...
I mean, it makes sense.
It's
very easy to
because
put all those things together.
It's like 100 mobs, right? 100 Psycho mobs, I think? Or 100 mobs Psycho?
Yeah.
Psycho 100, that's his like new thing.
Yeah, and people really like... And that was made by One as well, but that was made by One, like only him.
Yeah.
And so the fans of it are super into it because it's like, it's this one and only kind of deal where it's like, he's the only one who's ever touched it and everything. And
keep saying One, it's funny.
Yeah, and so it's so different by like comparison to his other works, and so the people who love it, you know, they feel much more of a connection to it. I think also the allure
is anime now as well.
It is by Bone.
It is, yeah. I saw the trailer for that.
Exactly.
It looks cool. It actually looks cool.
The PV looks so good.
That anime is actually like the One Punch Man anime is based off the manga's art style, not the webcomics. Where the Psycho 100 art style is based off the webcomic. It's got his like. You know, there's moments in One Punch Man, like, the OK scene is probably the most famous, where it goes to the webcomic style, you know, but it's like the whole thing is done in the webcomic style, which is cool. I actually have a question about Japanese webcomics. Is that a big deal? Because I've never heard of a Japanese webcomic other than One Punch Man.
I think web novels are bigger.
Yeah, I mean, I would say they are, but I mean, they're not usually made by Japanese people. What's big is that the Koreans usually
that's why I'm asking.
They bilingually release their stuff in Japanese and Korean usually.
I bring it up many times. I'm actually going to ask you, have you read Tower of God, the Korean webcomic?
No, I mean, I don't care about how many floors there are, dude. I just don't.
It's not. It really isn't about that. It's.
I'm just kidding.
If you research bait on Tower of God fans, that would be pretty ideal. What you just said, like.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I know what it is. Like, I clearly know what it's about.
It's one of like. I think it's one of the three. I think. I actually don't know what it was. Noblesse, Girls of the Wild, and Tower of God.
It's like, Girls of the Wild. Girls of the Wild I actually own the manga for, which is like super cool.
Girls of the Wild is interesting, actually.
They released it as a manga in Japan, which I think is super interesting because it's full color manga. Same with Noblesse. They've also released in Japan full color editions. And man, it's just so weird. It's so interesting seeing that kind of port into Japanese,
absolutely, because like
media.
Seeing Noblesse get an OVA was one of the fucking... And I'm really understating how much you're a Tower of God fan. I think I've gone on the record of saying it is my favourite work of writing across all forms of media. I connected to it on such a fundamental level. Like, so yeah, seeing No Bleeds get an OVA, that's just something I never thought would happen. Like a Korean webcomic actually get an animation, which is weird because Korea has a shit ton of animation studios, and they do like every American cartoon is animated in Korea, isn't it?
Yeah, same with Japan though. I mean, Japan expedites a lot of their work to Korea as well.
So why don't Korea make their own cartoons, like Korean cartoons? Is there just no market for it in Korea?
I mean, I'm not Korean and I'm not from Korea, so like I don't know about the scene of domestically, but I don't know. I'm sure that they make stuff in Korea, but maybe it's not as like profitable. Or
I know. I just feel like we would hear of it because like we
normal.
hear about these webcomics, and you would think like Korean webcomics must be like as obscure as it's gonna get. Like you'd think like if Koreans made cartoons, that would be way more prominent. So I don't know, maybe I think maybe it's just like a value proposition. They're going to make so much more money doing animation work for other studios abroad than they're going to make releasing their own domestic products. That must be it, right? I mean, that makes sense.
I mean, that would it's probably one of the major reasons, I would say. I can't see, I'm trying to understand, like, I guess I just don't have a clear understanding of how Korea works as its infrastructure, because, like, what's interesting about Korea is, like, it's this huge capital for, like, gaming. Like, some of the best players in the world for, like, various video games are all from Korea or live
when
in Korea.
When Korea turns its eyes upon an esport, that's it. Everyone else is done.
Yeah, I'm
the resident StarCraft fan here. I can speak for this.
I mean, look at Pult, for instance, right? Like, Pult's so much better than everyone else. Like, no one stands a chance.
I mean, it's the same as Faker. Like,
the thing is, Pult isn't even one of the best.
No, he's not. But like, he's a prime example of like just even the middle of the road.
Yeah, he's not even one of the best, and he's like still beating absolutely everyone over here in the West.
Yeah,
I mean, he's one of the few not living in Korea, and
that's what's like. That's just a prime example. I mean, there's so many reasons. Like, I mean, every esport has the people. Like, for instance, in like Street Fighter, it's Infiltration, and then in League of Legends, it's Fnatic, as well as the other teams from Korea.
Wait, Fnatic's not from Korea. Yeah.
I'm not a Fnatic. I meant to say Faker.
Yeah, no, I said Faker as well. Like,
I don't think Fnatic is the bad EU team.
Fnatic is Counter-Strike, dude. Like, Fnatic is like the SKT of Counter-Strike. Like, Fnatic are just untouchable in Counter-Strike. And have been for a while.
That's Counter-Strike. Are we considering that an esport now? Is that like
Fnatic? Counter-Strike is the biggest.
Isn't it? No, doesn't Korea suck shit?
Yeah, they do.
They're really bad.
I mean, I would love to see them.
Really
they have other shooters.
I would really like to see them apply themselves to it though, because I think Counter-Strike's actually quite entertaining to watch.
I don't think they have. I don't think they have the game is very popular in Korea. Actually, they have other shooters that are way more popular there.
Maybe.
I mean, it's like it's really interesting. Just what kind of works, for instance, like Dota's biggest scene is like Russia, and like that's really weird that like Russia is the biggest fan of like Dynasty of the Ancients, whereas like League of Legends, you have like SKT is like the best team in Korea, or at least currently, is.
No, they're not. They're like they just stomped IEM, and they're like 6th in Korea. Like
but I mean, like it's still better than most NA and EU.
Oh yeah,
and that's what's so interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Because like their infrastructure allows for these really liberal forms of entertainment to exist and prosper. And so it's very interesting, and I find it hard to believe that animation is not among those. So I think animation's there. I think that a lot of us just don't know where to look. I think it's
I don't know. I just feel like in this age of internet where K-pop and Korean webcomics are like, well, to K-pop especially, but Korean webcomics also are like really reaching wide audiences. Like, I feel like if Korea was making its own anime, we would know about it. Like, I just can't believe that.
I'd be pretty hyped for that. I love what Korean sounds like.
I
way
also
more
agree
than
with
Japanese.
that. I think Korean is one of the most beautiful languages to listen to.
I mean, I don't like Korean at all. Like,
most people I find don't really like Korean. I've got a lot of friends who say that. But
I'm with you, Cassie. I like it a lot.
I'm always partial to Japanese, probably because I know a lot of it.
I'm the same.
Yeah.
Korean is my third language though, so I mean I don't know it, but that's the one I've been studying because Korean's useful because there is so much animation expedited to like not secondhand, but like basically just outsourced to Korea.
Yeah.
And so it would be super valuable for,
me to learn it, regardless of if I work in the East or the West. Both countries use Korea as such a valuable resource, which is why it's a valuable language to learn. Whereas Chinese, you know, I would want to learn Chinese mainly because Chinese is like the most people in the world are Chinese.
If you want to make money, you learn Chinese. If you want to make cartoons, you learn Japanese.
Usually. That's usually how it
Although, I
goes.
mean, who are we kidding? It's all Chinese anyway, isn't it?
I mean, that's one way to look at it, Grandma, but that's how it usually goes. It's usually just like, that's usually the conversation with any person over the age of 40 and Asia. It's all Chinese, isn't it?
What is this? Some kind of Chinese?
Chinese cartoons, Mom. You know, it's insane.
Yeah. Okay, well, we've gone pretty long, actually. I guess we should wrap it up.
Yeah, just over the 2 hour mark.
Holden, it's been fantastic having you on the show.
Yeah, I'm sorry for talking so much and having my voice crack occasionally. But
That's fine, dude.
The second one is a
been
lot
great
more
being
forgivable.
I know, it was all pretty
actually,
interesting,
it was.
so.
You got a lot to say.
No. Yeah, I mean, I used to do podcasts. I'm pretty used to it, so.
Really?
I do talk a lot, so.
Really? I didn't know.
I'm sorry if any of the viewers normally who would like to listen to your regular scheduled programming were utterly devastated by
We've
my
only
presence.
just gotten a schedule.
Let's be serious. Most of the viewers are going to be here because of you, so.
For now.
Yeah.
Anime Abroad
for now.
Rising, though. Holy shit. This is meteor. I rise to fame. Like, this, we're going to look back and it's just, like, people are going to listen to this episode and be like, Holden who? Like, I'm predicting this.
I mean,
I love your optimism, Tom. I really do.
So I'm going to try everything in my power to not let it happen, but we'll see.
Smile and nod. Indulge us.
We'll try and see where we end up.
So to our usual viewers, we apologize for the lack of shouting and bad opinions. We'll get back to that next time, I promise.
But yeah, dude, it's been super fun, dude. Like I said, dude, I'm the self-proclaimed champion of the people. Like, I live to do stuff like this because I feel like it unifies us as a community and shows, like, you know, that
absolutely, we
really are a community and not just a series of isolated incidents that happen to like the same thing.
Yeah, I have actually something to say about that is because the way this podcast formed is it was mostly a bunch of friends whose primary interests were something else, and like just happened to like filter out a group of people that liked anime also, and they started their own chat and then started their own podcast, and then they stumbled across me, and then we stumbled across Jonas. So Jonas is actually the only person who is connected to the community. Like the rest of us on this podcast aren't at all.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I feel like it would be cool if we could actually try and start connecting with the community a bit more. I kind of feel like.
I mean, it's super easy, dude. I mean, you already have my boy Lou in the comments, dude. So.
Oh, dude. He's like the one guy I know, like, I from when I was on Twitter last time. Like, if I had to pick one guy to shout us out, that would have been him.
Of course, it's Lou.
He is the coolest guy.
I mean, Lou's the reason I'm here. Like, he pointed me in the direction of the podcast whenever that happened.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow. That's cool. No, and
I didn't know that.
Lou's a super cool dude. I've known him for ages now, and he's like one of the coolest guys. in the community,
I discovered
honestly.
his channel like when it was relatively small, like way before MangaPod, but
so
he is a really cool guy. And also, if he's listening, I know he subscribes. I don't know if he listens, but if you're listening, Lou, I'm coming for you next. You're our next guest. Like target lines.
Tom is just aggressively getting people to podcast with us, and it's great.
Play the game, roll the dice. That's what I say. So, David, are you here to like outro us, or should I just wing it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not been. Can you guys actually hear me?
For listening to the Anime Abroad podcast. We've been joined by a very special guest today, Holden.
Yep. Thanks for listening, everyone, and sayonara. See you later, guys.
Yeah. In English, please, Jonas.
It's been really fun having Holden on here, and I'm glad we could do this. So see you next time.
Yeah, and Cassie, you now know who Holden is, so that's cool.
Can you guys actually hear me?
Yeah.
It's been a really great podcast.
It's fun.
I hope sometime down the line, Holden, we can have you back.
It's
on.
comfortable.
Of course, I'd love to, man.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, thanks very much for listening, and I'm sure you'll hear from us very soon.